Hello, everybody. Welcome to ICF
Hello.
Austin Coach Podcast, episode number 2. I'm Phil Salonica, Membership Director with ICF Austin. I'm joined by Vanessa Cruz. Vanessa, say hello.
Hello. I am Vanessa Cruz, member on the membership committee with good old Phil.
Yeah, and today we're going to recap what's been happening in the chapter in the past couple of weeks, interview our wonderful president, Tracy Winter, and then preview what's coming up in January. So with that being said, let's talk virtual coaching conversations. December 9th, you were there, I was there. I think we had about 22 to 23 different coaches show up and a ton of new folks, which is kind of always awesome. And the question that we kind of asked everybody was it was leaning towards the business side / marketing / promotion. And so we had a great discussion kind of around that. Any big takeaways for you out of that?
I thought the whole thing was really good, right? I think the reoccurring theme that was coming up was kind of like, you're your best content, So that was said in a couple of different ways, especially because we are in the business of ourselves, right? So I love the messages that were said around that, but I thought it was really interesting, right? I got some good takeaways about, joining different coaching sites, to be like members on there as you grow your business. So that was a really huge takeaway for me.
Yeah, the biggest point was kind of the last one right before we ended the call. I think it was Tim who we were discussing different coaching platforms and whatnot and how to get started. And he just said, basically, you're your own platform. Like you are your own biggest platform, which really resonated with me. That was a great takeaway. And that's what, I feel like there's always something good like that comes out of each of those conversations. That's why I try to get as many new members to join there as possible.
And it makes it fun because then, we can lead right into the next event was that social. And I thought that was so awesome because then you're like, oh, I actually know people. I've seen you and now I can talk to you in real life. And it's not so nerve-wracking to be there and be a newbie if you've met some people before.
Yeah. I think a couple of people made the comment where it's like, oh my gosh, it's crazy to see people below their neck and without a little name bar with their names, right? And another cool thing about that was we had 14 or 15 new people that showed up, which for me that's the most I've seen definitely at an in-person event, but out of any event I think so far in my past 2 years with the chapter. So feels like we're generating some positive momentum as far as that goes. I'm excited to see what's next.
Ditto. Always love seeing people in person. It makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah, there was a point where just about everybody had kind of showed up and I was waiting around at the membership table with the last few name tags. And I looked up every table is just full and everybody's just chatting, connecting. I was like, this is perfect. Yeah. We're here. This is awesome. So definitely excited for that and excited to kind of keep building off of that with more in-person events. That's what kind of everybody is talking about right now as far as new members. They want that in-person experience and that's what we're looking for. So we want to give our membership what they want. So should be good. Anything else from the social? Any other takeaways?
Come to the next events. They're always fun. It's a great way to connect, right? I feel like every time I've gone to in person, I have such impactful conversations. I mean, I know I'm with a bunch of coaches, so to be expected, but I always walk away with something huge or just eye-opening or reassuring or, all the things because everybody's in the same boat or they're willing to share their experience and say where they've gotten what helps them out of it, right? So it's such a great community of people and I just can't wait to get to know more people in this.
Yeah, love that. Okay, so we recapped. Oh, we also had the happy hour book club exploration into being and doing. And for more on that and the DEIJ spotlight, we're going to bring in ICF Austin President Tracy Winter. Let's add her to the pod. Hello, Tracy.
Hey, Phil. Hey, Vanessa. Hi, y'all. It's nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Welcome. So one thing I wanted to discuss real quick before we kind of get to the interview was the DEIJ Spotlight that you were a part of on December 2nd.
Oh yeah,
give us your takeaways and tell us about that experience.
That was our second DEIJ Spotlight event, and we are just ramping up our DEIJ efforts. I'm really proud of our board with this. Actually, we just established a new board position for a DEIJ director, which is being filled by Dr. Alejandra Mielke, who was also our moderator on Friday, December the 2nd, when we had this panel. It was Dr. Nicholas Harvey, Lori Battaglia, our secretary, Michelle Millis-Rucker, and then myself. And most of them came to DEI through, like, that's their big work. I'm a neurodiversity coach, so I was coming through that lens. And we had a really interesting discussion about what is, each of those pieces: diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, and how does it intersect with coaching, and how can you be including some of those concepts as you're, as a lens, as you're working into your coaching. So it was a fun discussion. There were some really astounding moments. Like, I'm grateful just to have met the people I was on the panel with, because they were so insightful and brought new perspectives. So highly recommend coming to our next one. I'm not sure what our next DEIJ event will be, but it will be coming up this next quarter for sure.
Yeah, I'm on that committee. We have a meeting on Wednesday to discuss all the fun things that we want to do. So I'm excited. Alejandra has a lot of good ideas, and she wants to hit the ground running.
Well, that's her genius. Yeah, that's her genius work. So we're really excited that she is volunteering to do the thing that she does so well on behalf of our chapter, and make our DEIJ efforts robust and really, make that part of our culture. So I'm excited. So thank you for joining the committee, because I think there's going to be some great work to be done there.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
How many other members on the committee so far?
I think there's just 4 of us right now.
Just 4? That's like the most on any so far, and they just started. That's awesome.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think it's necessary. So I think it's really good that we started this, and I think that the group of people are I'm in awe of oh man, how do you guys know all this stuff? How do you do all this stuff? So I'm excited to learn more and do more and get more involved.
And we're always happy to welcome more people to that committee or to any of our committees. The only way these things happen is with volunteers, not just your board members. We really could use the support. We could use people who are interested and excited and want to make our chapter even better. So thank you, Vanessa, for pulling double duty on committees. And anybody else listening out there, we've got finance committee, communications, membership, outreach, DEIJ now, programs. Everybody could use a little bit more support if we want to do bigger things. So that's my PSA. You'll probably hear it again today.
Love it. I'll put some volunteer information in the link after we post this as well.
Perfect.
So we also, we talked about the Winter Social, Vanessa and I, a little bit. I'd love to get kind of your perspective on how that event went.
Well, Michelle Hefner, our programs director, is a rock star when it comes to these things. She always says she's not a hostess, and yet she plans the most beautiful events and makes things happen. So I thought, I was so excited. We were almost at full capacity. I think we were, I think our limit was 45, and we had 43 people there, which is amazing. We had guests who were coaches in training all the way up to master coaches. So, and people were talking to each other, and we had conversation starters, which were sometimes necessary, but often not, because coaches, right? We sit there being quiet and silent and using our silence all the time, but curiosity. So the conversations just flowed. I think we ran out of chairs at one point. We needed to put a few more chairs in. So it was just wonderful to see everyone celebrating together, celebrating each other, celebrating coaching, having some fun with some raffle prizes and little things like that. And hopefully everybody went home with some holiday cheer, and we'll be excited to see them again at the next in-person social. So I was thrilled. I spent a lot of the time stepping back and watching what was happening, and just Grinch heart grew 3 sizes.
I love that.
Yeah, I felt the same. I was telling Vanessa, it was great to see so many new faces. And then just, again, it wasn't like, oh, new coaches on this side and they're afraid to mingle. Nope, everybody just got in there, was talking, networking. I think I heard some like ideas and opportunities being created and generated through those. So it was very exciting to see.
Yeah, I loved seeing so many of our senior members, people who've been members of the chapter for so long, interacting so well with the new ones. And really, like I checked back with some of our new folks and some of our guests, and they were like, I just feel so welcome. I feel like part of the crew already, which was my experience when I joined ICF Austin. So like I was thrilled that was being created for them, and also not at all surprised because our members are wonderful and just so collaborative and welcoming and kind.
Yeah, I couldn't echo that enough. Yeah, because when I joined, I was like, oh man, I finally found my people. You know, going to those networking events, you're always like nervous, like, ooh, but it's like the most welcome I've ever felt ever at any kind of event. Like,
oh, that's wonderful.
People join. It's a great group of people.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so moving on from the social, Tracy, I want to let all the listeners, members, whoever's watching this, get to hear your story as a coach and as president. So with that being said, just tell us a little bit about your coaching journey, how you got here today.
So I got here a little bit of a roundabout way, which I suppose most coaches could say. I went into graduate school thinking that I was going to study organizational development. And it was in the same school as the human development. So like our foundational courses were the same. And I realized as I got through my like first half of coursework that I kept gravitating toward individuals, specifically highly gifted individuals. That's what my research was on. And realized I probably should have done the clinical psych program because I would have had something to practice then with individuals. And I thought, well, okay, I'm not starting my coursework over. That's not happening. Just no. So what else? And my school had started the year before an evidence-based coaching program. I went to Fielding Graduate University for both my coaching and my graduate work. And so I enrolled in that. And it was at the time, you know, one of the more rigorous programs out there, because it was more scholarly based and more, you know, sort of my style. So I did my coach training there and I got credentialed. And the more I have coached, the more glad I am that I'm not a clinical psychiatrist or psychologist, pardon me, that I am a coach, because I love what we do as coaches more than digging into the past and having to have my boundaries really clear. And like, I'm accidentally empathetic. I don't feel it, but until I'm feeling it. And then it's like, oh gosh. And that's a little easier with coaching, even though we still have to have that. And the other thing is I love about coaching, like when people say, what do you love about coaching? My two answers are always, I get to be curious and surprised all day long. Like that's my job, is to ask curious questions and like fulfill my own curiosity on behalf of my client, right? You know, in service to my client. And as a younger coach, of course, I thought I knew all of the answers because we all do. The more I coached, the more I became a more mature coach. It was like, no, look for the surprises. And so I get to be surprised all the time if I'm doing my job well. So I think being a coach is just super fun, to be curious and surprised, like, you know, multiple times in an hour.
I love that.
I don't know. I can't think of a better gig than that.
What a gift.
Right?
What a gift. Yeah. Something new every single day. Every single session, there's something completely new. I love that. Yeah. Okay. How about challenges? What's your biggest challenge as a coach? As a coach,
it has been marketing, you know, because I kind of started over when I moved to Austin a few years ago, and like getting it rolling, just like every coach, all the coaches say like, you know, I'm not very good at marketing. Yeah, I know. Nobody becomes a coach to be a marketer. Like that is not part of what we think about. So I had the similar struggles of starting up and all of that. And like still the fears of, oh gosh, is this going to keep rolling? Because I've got a great practice. I've got a good momentum, multiple gigs now, like very fortunate to have rolled in. And there's always that solopreneur thing of, oh goodness, what's going to happen next, right? I'm a relatively risk averse person, so I'm not really sure how I ended up in this gig in that way. But yeah, so that to me is one of the challenges. I think making sure to be reflective, taking the time to be reflective for myself and have my own coach and do my own work is both a challenge and a gift, right? But if I'm not doing that, then I'm not serving my clients well enough. So I'm really fortunate to have a wonderful coach, Kate Arms, who is just I said, I want to develop, and she said, okay. And that's what we're doing. And I can see it serving my clients like tangentially. So that is a challenge that I asked for. And also, all of that work is always a challenge. Is that? Yeah.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, it's a great answer. I love that.
I almost said, does that make sense? But I'm trying to strike that from my vocabulary more. So that was my whoop.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think, in having conversations with people like at the Texas Conference for Women, they're different, you're meeting people, you're telling them what you do. I'm always like, and I have a coach myself. And they're like, really? And it's like, yes, like they help me process and grow and learn. And I feel like there is a coach for everybody, right? So I love that you highlighted that. It's like only there to benefit you. I don't see a downside to having somebody in your corner to support you, so it's so beneficial.
Well, if we're telling everybody else how valuable coaching is 100%. And how developmental it is and how much it can help you move forward, and we're not following our own advice. It just, sits a little wonky with me when I'm in that situation.
Yeah, I was just reading actually The Prosperous Coach, and one of the 18 disciplines it talks about, making sure that you have your own coach too, right? If you're a doctor and you don't go to the doctor yourself, I mean, what does that say about you really as a doctor, right? So
yeah, but there's a lot of doctors like that, but we won't get into that.
Oh, okay. All right, back to challenges. Okay, so how about pivoting from coaching? How about your ICF journey? Tell us a little bit about how that started.
So I joined ICF when I did my training, because that's what you do, and I got credentialed because that's what you do. And at the time I lived in Chicago, and I went several times, in a span of time to meetings there a few times. And it wasn't quite as warm as I found ICF Austin to be once I got here. And so I wasn't very involved, from all of that time. And I moved to Austin in summer 2019. And given my experiences so far, I did not have high hopes, but I was like, I'm putting myself out there. I'm going to go out and introvert into the wild. Like, oh my gosh, all these people I don't know. And, my experience hadn't been great. And I walked into my first ICF Austin meeting, and I wrote about this in the newsletter when November time. I walked in, and Susan Warner, who was the membership director at the time, was there with the table of name tags like Phil is at the social. It used to be how we were for in-person meetings. Oh, you're a new member, aren't you? It's so nice to meet you, blah, 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 blah. I literally got 3 steps, and Kathy Morris, who was the secretary at the time and now is one of our advisory board members, who's just lovely and warm and delightful and all the things. Same thing. Oh, you're Tracy. You're one of our new members. I'm so glad to be able to talk to you. Talked about another few steps. And Carrie, I'm blanking on her last name, but she was the programs director who was doing so much at the time. Carrie Williams, I think, started talking to me and was like, oh, I do this thing at ACC, and you've got your graduate work in this, and so we should collaborate. Maybe you can come lecture over at Austin Community College, blah blah blah. Like, I hadn't gotten 10 steps in the door. And so I was like, this place is amazing. And then I happened to sit down for the presentation, and I looked down, and the woman next to me has a Fielding Graduate University pin. And I looked over and I said, did you go to Fielding? She said, well, yes. Did you go to? And we have this connection, right? Well, it turned out it was Marjorie Wu, who is one of our MCC members and is amazing. Like, the work that she has done is incredible. And there's a little clump of us who are Fielding coaching graduates at ICF Austin. So that was sort of my starter jumping off point for and that was my first home. Like Vanessa, like you said, I found my people. My closest friends in Austin are mostly coaches from ICF Austin. So I feel really, really grateful to be part of this community.
So what did you start off with? And then how were you like, I'm going to be the president?
Yeah, no, that's not at all how it happened. So a couple years ago, Sherry Lowry called me, and everyone who's listening to this probably knows Sherry because everyone knows Sherry, and said, we need to fill this spot on the Texas Coaches Coalition, which is the body that puts on the All Texas Retreat and Conference every year. By the way, it's in end of March, beginning of April, and early bird registration really does end December 31st. So for $100 off, do it. it's a really amazing experience, y'all, to be around coaches. And it's like a camp experience, except with better food. Yeah, it's kind of indescribable until you experience it. So please come on out. It's really beautifully done. Aside. So Sherry called me and was like, we need somebody to do this. I was like, well, what's the commitment? What do I have to do? She's like, it's, and I talked to Kathy, who was doing the job at the time. She said, it's like 2 hours a month. You just show up at a meeting. You get to do kind of strategic planning, forward thinking. That's kind of it. I was like, well, okay. So I became part of the Texas Coaches Coalition, and I did my thing, and it was a little bit more involved, but not too much, right? So it was fine. And then I was asked to be on the nominating committee for the board the next year, and interview some candidates, and what did we think, whatever, with some board members at the time. And so we did all that, and we got through, and we didn't have a membership director. Like, nobody was interested, and that was going to be a problem. And I was like, well, I could probably do it. And there were, Susan and Marcia Rodi, who was outreach at the time, and several other of my friends were like, yay, yes, good, which I think was mostly like, yay, yes, good, the spot has been filled with a body. So I ended up membership director. I interviewed and did all the things and got elected. And then I was puttering along being membership director and started working on the potential merger project, which has since, been closed down, but was working on that for about half a year. And then Michelle Lopez, who was our president last year, called me up one night, said, have you ever considered being the president? I said, no. What's happening right now? No. And she gave me some reasons why it would be a good fit. And I talked to some advisors and some folks and looked around and went, okay, I could do this thing. So I signed up to do the thing. And I'm really lucky because I have this beautiful board to support me. My job is so easy because of the people that have stepped up to be on the board this year. Look at this. Phil was like, I think we should have a podcast. So he makes a podcast. Like, here it is. Okay. I think we should have a yoga day in January. Okay, Phil, let's do the thing. So much of that around our board. So I'm just lucky. I just kind of coast, really. Let them do all the work. So that's my long-winded ICF presidency journey. And I am so grateful to be able to serve this way.
We're grateful to have you.
Yeah. And you touched on so many other things that I had wanted to bring up, but then it was so perfect that you did. So the coalition, I had seen that. And then I was like, oh, I don't know. What is this all about? Like, is it worth it? But I feel like you just sold me on it. So I'm
totally honest. Before I was on the committee and I was kind of going, really? There's not that many programs. And I usually choose conferences by the stack of programs I can go to, right? Like, how much education can I squeeze into one day? And when I went, I was like, oh, this is an ephemeral thing that is hard to put words around. And I will not miss this again if I can help it.
Signing up today. Thank you.
I made great connections, great contacts, and got some work out of it. I got a podcast interview out of it, but more importantly, just connected with other coaches that care a lot about their coaching. And it was like, sitting in a warm bath, except interpersonally, which sounds bad now that it came out of my mouth.
That's awesome.
What's the date for the next one?
Oh, it's in the newsletter.
It's
at the beginning. I believe it's the beginning of April sometime.
Okay, I'll make sure we include that in the description as well.
Please. And we have links to it in our newsletter. We should put a link to it on the website, so I'll see about that.
Yeah, we'll do. I'll probably have to join this year. We'll see.
Yeah, it's TexasCoachesCoalition.com.
Perfect. Okay, so it's a perfect transition into what's next for us as a chapter. So I believe we have no more events for the rest of this year.
Yes, we are letting everybody celebrate with their families, our board members and our members.
Yeah, absolutely. And our first ones coming up are going to be January 13th, virtual coaching conversations. Is that the very first one?
I believe so.
Okay.
But yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Should know that since I'm leading that. But yeah, and again, we kind of touched on it earlier, but virtual coaching conversations is an hour-long Zoom on Fridays from 12 to 1 where we just connect with coaches all across Austin, all across the community. We've had actually coaches from Russia and I think Norway joined before, or Russia and Germany, I'm sorry, before. We've had people from all across the country join. You don't have to be a coach. You don't have to be in Austin. It's just a great space to get connected, ask questions, learn, network, all that stuff. So that's my free. And it's free.
Yeah.
You don't have to remember to join. It's free for everybody. So we'll have a link to register below as well. And then we have on January 18th our yoga connection networking time and space where we've reserved a room downtown Austin at Casa de Luz. One of our members, Dr. Seema Desai, will be leading us in a yoga session for an hour. We'll have about a 30-minute meet and greet before so people can connect, and then also afterwards so people can connect. So just trying to further build that community and get a little health and wellness in at the same time. So we're excited about that. Only 14 slots though, and I'm pretty sure they will go fast. We're charging, I think, $25 per ticket. So get them while you can, because those will probably go by fast. $25 for a yoga class is pretty good.
That's for members. It's $35 for global members or guests.
There you go. And then moving forward, book club in January. Do you want to discuss book club?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to go to the most recent Happy Hour book club, which is a book club for our ICF Austin coach authored book that, again, our programs director, Michelle Hefner, last year for our 20th anniversary said, I know what we should do. We should write a book. So she recruited all these people and she edited this book and took on this huge project, and beautifully. And so now we have a book. Oh, I just put mine back on the shelf.
I was just going to say, I just put mine right here.
Oh, good.
Oh, there it is. Good job. Nice.
This is useful. It's not just for looks. There's real good books in there.
But it's also so pretty.
Yeah,
So each month, Michelle leads a discussion, usually with the author of whatever chapter they're discussing. Next month in January, it will be Edna Harris, and we'll be talking about assessments of all different kinds. This past month, it was actually Michelle's own chapter, which was about the hero's journey and how to incorporate that into coaching. We had a really interesting, deep, thoughtful conversation. I was very appreciative of everyone's perspective. So that's the third Friday of every month at 5:30 Central. Bring your favorite beverage, whatever that happens to be, and come and talk about the book. You don't have to have read it to show up.
It's virtual then.
It is virtual.
Oh, okay.
It is a Zoom book club.
We'll have links to that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think we're good. This feels good. Any closing remarks? Actually, one more thing. Tracy, tell us about your recent interview that you had, please.
Yeah.
It likes to make me blush. About mid-December, I was interviewed for a BBC.com article on ADHD in the workplace, because I am a neurodiversity coach. I focus on twice exceptional folks, especially ADHD. And so I was quoted as, knowing some stuff, I guess, about ADHD in this article. It's in my LinkedIn if anybody's interested in reading it. I was really just thrilled to be asked. So when it actually came out and it was a thing and it was on the front page of BBC.com Work Life, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a thing.
Wow.
So it was pretty exciting, I have to say. Yeah. And
awesome.
The author did a beautiful job. The article really brings up a lot of the salient points that are challenging about having ADHD, being ADHD at the workplace. So it's worth a read. Awesome. Not for me, for the other side.
Awesome.
Thanks, Bill.
Congratulations. Okay. Any closing remarks? Anything you want to plug or talk about before we get out of here?
Our monthly meetings will start back. Fourth Tuesday of every month. Our first speaker is going to be James Garrett, who came to talk to us, I think, last year. This year is going to be about fun, comfortable. So the fact that we need to be uncomfortable, but we can make it fun in order to grow. He's always a great speaker, so please come out. We've got our programming planned through mid-year. Lots of great stuff coming our way in different areas, including business building, including, core competencies, all kinds of things. We are going to be coming up like the yoga connection, like this podcast. We are always innovating and coming up with some new things, hopefully some great community outreach possibilities for everybody. So, just keep your eyes open, because we're going to be playing big. I don't know what that means yet, but I'm sure my board members will tell me. So I'm just excited to see what this year brings and how we can grow as a membership, as a chapter activity, as just all the ways, and be the force that our members individually are, coming together. So last plug is come join a committee, come out and play, come support in whatever way you want. If you have, 3 hours and you say, I don't know what to do with these hours, contact Phil or contact Jenny, our communications director, and say, who could use my 3 hours? Because we'll find something for you to do. But we'd love to have even more and more involvement. I've been so impressed with our new membership's involvement this year, and that is largely thanks to Phil. So good on Phil for the recruitment effort. And we have so many new members involved in our committees. We just need to keep that going. So come on and play. It's a good sandbox.
I think the motto for ICF Austin 2023 is definitely play big.
Yeah. Yeah. Kudos
that.
and credit to Kelly Russell DeVarnay, one of our past presidents and advisory board members, who put that in her quite some time ago. I had to give her credit.
Absolutely. Vanessa, any closing remarks?
Thank you so much. It was so nice getting to know you a little bit more. And I hope you guys everybody have happy holidays, happy new year. And I look forward to seeing you guys come January.
Absolutely. Okay. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.